What if the moon simply slipped away from Earth's orbit? What if right now it began to drift, inch by inch, breaking the gravitational bond that holds our nights, our tides, our balance together? No massive explosion, no alien intervention, just a slow, silent shift, almost unnoticeable at first. A strange tide here, a glitch in GPS there. But then, global weather patterns spiral. Days become unstable, nights stretch too long. Earth begins to wobble, literally. Civilization, built around a cosmic rhythm, starts to unravel. This isn't science fiction. It's a terrifying possibility backed by real physics, and if it ever happens, no one, no matter how powerful, can stop it. In this video, we're diving deep into what could be the most underestimated cosmic threat of all. And by the end, you might never look at the night sky the same way again. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. For as long as humans have looked up, the moon has been there, constant, silent, watchful. It pulls our oceans with delicate precision, creates the rhythm of tides that fishermen, farmers, and entire coastal cities depend on. Its gravity subtly stabilizes Earth's axis, keeping our seasons predictable, our climate relatively calm. The lunar phases guide ancient calendars, religious rituals, even human biology, affecting sleep cycles, hormone levels, and more than we care to admit. And yet, most of us never think twice about it. We treat the moon as background, permanent, harmless. But that stability? It's a cosmic balancing act. Right now, the moon orbits Earth at an average distance of 384,400 kilometers, close enough to pull at our planet, far enough not to crash into it. It didn't always sit there, and it won't stay there forever. Modern science has proven that the moon is slowly moving away, about 3.8 centimeters per year. Harmless for now. But what if something changed that? A gravitational anomaly, a shift in Earth's mass distribution, a rogue celestial object passing too close. There are real, theoretical scenarios that could alter the moon's path. And if that ever happens, the consequences would ripple through every aspect of life on Earth. In today's world, wired with satellites, dependent on digital timing, driven by global trade, any disruption to nature's fundamental cycles isn't just poetic. It's catastrophic. Picture tides invading streets, satellites falling out of sync, animal migrations derailing, sleep disorders rising globally, all from a wobble we didn't expect. This isn't just astronomy, it's survival. The moon may seem far away, but our lives are tied to it in ways we've barely begun to understand. Roughly 4.5 billion years ago, Earth collided with a Mars-sized object, an impact so violent, it tore a massive chunk of our planet into space. That debris slowly gathered, molded by gravity, until it formed what we now call the moon. From the very beginning, this wasn't just a lifeless rock, it was a stabilizer, a protector. Without it, Earth would be a wildly spinning, chaotic world, possibly too unstable for life to ever take hold. Ancient civilizations worshipped the moon, sensing long before science that it played a deeper role in life on Earth. But it wasn't until the 20th century that scientists fully understood the moon's gravity was doing more than just lighting the night sky. It was keeping Earth's 23.5-degree tilt from shifting chaotically, maintaining seasons, climate patterns, balance. Today, we use that knowledge in simulations, climate models, and disaster planning. But here's the twist. All those models depend on one assumption, that the moon stays where it is. In 2021, a NASA study warned that small shifts in the moon's position, due to a natural wobble in its orbit, could amplify sea level rise and worsen coastal flooding in the 2030s. That was just a wobble, not an orbital loss. So imagine what would happen if the moon's orbit truly started to decay, pulled by an unknown force, a miscalculation, or a cosmic event we never saw coming. Scientists have long theorized that even minor changes in lunar distance could trigger chain reactions, ecological, geological, even psychological. This isn't fantasy. It's a warning written in the very forces that shaped our world. And yet, most people live unaware, trusting that the moon, like time itself, will never betray them. But what if it already has? What if the shift has begun? It started quietly, too quietly. A few coastal towns began noticing unusually high tides, far above seasonal norms. Not storms, not hurricanes, just water, slowly creeping into streets that had been dry for decades. In Alaska, GPS readings were off by several meters, confusing aircraft and shipping routes. Weather satellites began miscalculating storm trajectories by fractions of a degree, small enough to ignore, until suddenly they weren't. And then came the data from lunar tracking stations. Subtle anomalies. A pattern of shift so gradual it escaped notice for months. But once charted, undeniable. The moon was no longer where it was supposed to be. Scientists across observatories ran independent simulations. Different inputs, same outcome. The lunar orbit had shifted by just a fraction of a percent. And yet, that was enough to trigger a cascade of consequences. Tidal cycles grew erratic. Animals that relied on the moon for migration, like sea turtles, whales, even some bird species, began veering off course, appearing in places they didn't belong, or not appearing at all. Human sleep cycles, already fragile in the digital age, grew more disturbed. Hospitals saw a spike in insomnia, mood disorders, and unexplained neurological complaints. The stock market twitched. People couldn't focus. Subconscious unrest rippled through cities. It wasn't panic, but something deeper. An unspoken awareness that something had shifted, and we weren't in control anymore. Scientists tried to reassure the public, calling it a temporary fluctuation. But behind closed doors, astrophysicists whispered another word: destabilization. Because if the moon keeps drifting, even by millimeters per day, our planet's entire equilibrium could begin to collapse. Not tomorrow, not with explosions, but piece by piece, breath by breath. And the most terrifying part? No one knows how to stop it. Here's the part no one wants to talk about, because it challenges everything we take for granted. The moon doesn't just light up our night sky. It keeps Earth alive. Without it, our planet would tilt chaotically, swaying between extreme angles over thousands of years. That tilt controls everything: weather, agriculture, the very pattern of life. Right now, Earth's tilt sits at a stable 23.5 degrees, thanks to the moon's gravitational pull. Without it, we could lurch from 0 to 85 degrees. Imagine Antarctica pointing at the sun, and then, centuries later, the equator freezing under endless night. Some scientists call the moon Earth's gravitational anchor. And without an anchor, things drift. But here's the twist that most people miss. The moon is already leaving us. Slowly. Every year, it drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther into space. It's been doing this since it formed. And that means we're living on borrowed time. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually, balance will break. What if that slow drift was suddenly accelerated? What if a passing asteroid, a shift in Earth's mass distribution, or even the melting of polar ice caps subtly altered our planet's rotation, throwing off the moon's orbit? This isn't wild speculation, it's a known vulnerability. In 2016, a team of geophysicists published findings suggesting Earth's wobble had changed course, due, in part, to human-induced climate shifts. That means we're already affecting the planetary dynamics that stabilize the moon. The unsettling truth? We might be the ones nudging it off balance without realizing it. So the question becomes, if we cause the moon to shift, even slightly, what else might we set in motion? And once that motion begins, who or what can stop it? Today, scientists monitor the moon with astonishing precision, using laser-ranging systems that bounce beams off reflectors left by Apollo missions. Every millimeter of its movement is recorded. We've mapped its orbit, measured its mass, studied its surface and core. Yet, for all our progress, one thing remains painfully clear: we don't control it. NASA, ESA, and private observatories constantly model lunar trajectories, updating predictions based on tectonic shifts, sea level rise, and even glacial rebound. Yes, even melting ice can subtly affect the balance between Earth and the moon. In 2021, NASA's Sea Level Change team released a report linking the moon's natural 18.6-year wobble to amplified tidal flooding, warning that the 2030s could see record-breaking coastal disasters, not from storms, but from gravitational math. That's not theory. That's physics. At the same time, missions like Artemis are preparing to return humans to the moon, aiming for permanent bases and deeper exploration. But here's the paradox. While we plan to colonize it, we may be overlooking a more urgent task: understanding just how fragile the Earth-Moon relationship really is. Some researchers argue we should begin preparing contingency models, lunar deviation protocols, in case orbital stability begins to slip outside historical norms. But those conversations are quiet, technical, hidden in white papers few ever read. Why? Because the idea that the moon might one day drift too far, or worse, fall closer, is terrifying. And no one wants to admit how little we could do about it. The truth is, we are advanced enough to land on the moon. But we're still just beginning to grasp the cosmic choreography that keeps it dancing with Earth. And if that dance falls out of step, even slightly, the consequences won't be lunar. They'll be global. Some say it's just nature, cosmic drift unfolding over millions of years, nothing more. A gentle, inevitable separation. But others aren't so sure. A growing number of researchers believe that what we're seeing now, those tidal anomalies, the orbit shifts, the navigational glitches, are not part of the moon's usual rhythm. Instead, they may be symptoms of human interference. Climate scientists have pointed out that massive redistributions of mass on Earth, melting glaciers, drained aquifers, rising oceans, are changing our planet's rotational balance. These changes, though seemingly local, ripple outward, affecting gravitational dynamics on a planetary scale. Could it be that by altering Earth so deeply, we've begun to throw off the moon's alignment? Some even speculate that deep space mining, seismic testing, or subtle electromagnetic interference from advanced technologies might be playing a role. Of course, those claims are controversial, dismissed by mainstream voices as fringe. But then again, isn't that how all warnings start? There's also the philosophical divide. One side argues, we must act, build contingency systems, monitor lunar drift with the same urgency as climate change. The other? They say, the moon has always moved. This is hubris, to think we can control celestial forces. But maybe the most dangerous idea of all is thinking we don't have to choose. That progress can continue unchecked. That we can drill, burn, extract, expand, without tipping the scales. Nature doesn't negotiate. Every action echoes. And now, we may be hearing that echo from 384,000 kilometers away. So ask yourself, what if the most advanced civilization on Earth set something in motion without ever realizing it? And worse, what if we're past the point of turning back? As the moon continued to drift fraction by fraction, night by night, the world began to feel the consequences in ways no one could ignore. In coastal regions, high tides stopped following their ancient rhythm. Instead, they surged unpredictably, flooding streets on calm, cloudless days. Entire cities, New Orleans, Venice, parts of Tokyo, were forced into a state of constant readiness, erecting barriers not for storms, but for the ocean itself. Farmers noticed subtle changes too. Pollination cycles shifted. Crops that once flourished under predictable seasons began failing, their internal clocks confused by the slow unraveling of Earth's tilt. Migratory animals vanished from their usual paths, leaving ecosystems broken in their absence. And above it all, the skies themselves changed. Nights grew darker, colder, longer. Sleep disorders spiked worldwide. Mental health clinics filled with patients reporting unexplained anxiety, restlessness, something deep, something instinctual. It was as if the human body could sense what the mind refused to accept. The balance of the world had shifted. Governments scrambled. Emergency lunar research coalitions were formed. Satellites were redirected to monitor orbital behavior. But it was too late for quick fixes. This wasn't a system error, it was a natural reaction. A slow, planetary correction to a pressure we didn't even know we applied. And the science? It adjusted too. New models were written. Old assumptions discarded. Earth's place in space was no longer stable. It was dynamic, unpredictable. The moon, once a symbol of comfort and romance, had become a variable. And humanity, once the master of its environment, was reduced to a species learning, once again, to adapt. The question no longer was, what if the moon moves? But how will we survive, now that it has? In the end, the question isn't just about the moon. It's about us. About the illusion of permanence we've built our world upon. We've trusted the sky to stay fixed, the tides to rise and fall on cue, the balance of nature to hold, because it always has. But what if that balance was never guaranteed? What if everything we've built, our cities, our science, our very sense of time, rests on cosmic patterns we barely understand? The drifting moon has become a symbol of a deeper truth. Nothing in this universe is still. Nothing is safe from change. And the more we interfere, through climate disruption, mass extraction, unchecked growth, the more we risk pushing systems beyond their tipping points. So now humanity faces a choice. We can continue assuming our dominance, building as if the world is ours to command, or we can pause, rethink, accept that we are participants in a fragile dance, one that demands respect, not control. This isn't about fear. It's about humility. Because if the moon can shift, so can we. We have the tools, technology, data, imagination. But do we have the will to act before we're forced to adapt? Do we have the courage to admit we're not above nature, but part of it? The Earth doesn't need saving. It will go on with or without us. The question is, will we choose evolution over extinction? Will we learn to live with the universe, or continue pretending we rule it? The next move isn't the moon's. It's ours. Do you remember how this all began? A simple question. What if the moon lost orbit? It sounded distant, almost poetic. But now, after everything you've heard, doesn't it feel disturbingly real? That's the part that stays with me. Not the science, not the numbers, but the silence, the quiet realization that something so distant, so seemingly eternal, could suddenly become unstable. And if that can happen, if the moon, our oldest companion in the sky, can shift, what else are we blindly depending on? Maybe it's not about space. Maybe it's about control. We build routines, trust our calendars, assume the sun will rise and the tides will obey. But what if that trust is misplaced? What if nothing is truly under control? I think about that more than I'd like to admit. Especially late at night, when the world is still and the moon hangs low over the horizon, just a little off. What if that feeling of unease isn't just imagination? What if it's instinct? A warning. The truth is, no government, no agency, no AI can hold the moon in place. But we can choose how we live under its light. Carefully, aware, connected. So let me ask you, if the moon began to move and no one told you, would you even notice? Or would you just feel it, deep down, as something old and sacred inside you shifted, too? Let me know in the comments. Do you think we've already gone too far? Or is there still time to restore the balance? Either way, the next time you look up at the sky, really look. Because now, you know what's at stake.